Ashley screamed the second Jason threw the box across the room. It hit the wall, burst open, and what spilled out silenced everyone. Jason backed up like he'd seen a ghost. Dude, what the hell is this? Ashley clutched the bedsheet around her, still half naked, her eyes glued to the wall where the box's contents had scattered. I stepped into the doorway, calm. Watching. She noticed me last. Her mouth dropped open. Mark? I didn't speak. I wanted her to look. To see. On the hotel bed, tangled in their just-finished mess, lay a photo of our wedding, cut in half, her side slashed and burned. A printed transcript of her last 10 texts to Jason. A silver USB stick. And a handwritten note that simply said, "Smile for the camera. You're being recorded. This room is wired." Jason panicked. He was already pulling on his jeans, stumbling like a drunk idiot. "You're crazy, man. You're FNG crazy." "No, Jason," I said, stepping inside, "I'm married." Or, was. He bolted. No shirt, no shoes, left his phone behind. Ashley stood frozen. Her eyes bounced between me and the mess on the floor. This is sick. You followed me? You planted cameras?" "No," I said coldly. "I rented this room. In my name. You just checked in with your affair partner, into a room your husband paid for." Silence. She blinked. Then tried to switch gears. Okay. Just calm down. Let's talk." "Talk?" I smirked. "Like how you talk to Jason about how vanilla I am. How I don't keep it exciting." Ashley's face flushed red. "You went through my messages. You left your iPad unlocked on the kitchen counter. I guess passion makes people stupid." She folded her arms, defiant. "So what? We're not happy. We haven't been in years. That's your excuse?" I asked. "That's what makes this okay? You want honesty? Fine. You're boring, Mark. You go to work, you cook dinner, you're safe. Jason makes me feel alive." I stepped closer. "No, Ashley. Jason makes you feel dirty. And now the whole world's going to see how alive you felt in a hotel room with hidden cameras." Her confidence cracked. "You wouldn't." I tossed her a spare keycard. "There are 3 drives. One already went to my lawyer. One's with my brother. And one, well, you just saw it fly across the room." Tears welled up in her eyes, but they weren't real. Ashley could cry on command. I'd seen it before. The crocodile tears didn't move me now. "You planned this," she whispered. "You set me up." "No," I said. "You did that all on your own. I just hit record." The camera in the corner blinked red. That's when she screamed. Loud. Threw a lamp at the wall. Screamed again. But this time, nobody came running to help her. Not even Jason. He was probably already in an Uber, halfway across the city, wondering how his one-night thrill just turned into a viral scandal. I didn't stay. I just turned around and walked out. Behind me, Ashley's voice was shrill and furious. But it faded with every step I took down that hallway. I didn't look back. Because the Rayal story was just beginning. I didn't sleep that night. After I walked out of the hotel, I sat in my car, engine running, staring blankly at the dashboard while my mind played back every lie she'd told me over the past few months. Every, "I'm at yoga," or "I'm staying at Lisa's," or "You're just being paranoid, Mark." I wasn't paranoid. I was being played. I got home around 2:40 a.m. and poured myself a double shot of whiskey. No music. No lights. Just me, the couch, and the USB copy sitting on the coffee table. The urge to watch the footage? Strong. But I didn't. I'd already seen enough through the hotel's live stream earlier that evening. That was enough betrayal for a lifetime. Enough to make a man want to destroy everything. Or start over from nothing. At 3:18 a.m., she called. Blocked number. I didn't answer. 5 seconds later, she tried again. Same result. Then came the texts. Paragraphs of chaos. Denial, threats, crying emojis, love bombs, gaslighting. We need to talk. You set me up, that's not fair. Please, don't ruin my life like this. I didn't mean to hurt you. Jason meant nothing. It's just been a tough year. I felt invisible. I love you, Mark. Please. I scrolled in silence. Then blocked the number. At 4:12 a.m., I emailed everything to my lawyer, Tim Mason, the only man I trusted at this point. Subject line: Initiate divorce. Irreconcilable betrayal. Then I finally passed out on the couch. By morning, it had begun. I woke to the sound of pounding fists on the front door. Ashley. Wearing the same dress. Makeup smeared. Hair a mess. Looking like guilt and vodka had a baby. Open the door, Mark. We need to talk. I didn't say a word. Just stood inside the hallway, arms crossed, watching her through the peephole. She kept knocking. Eventually, she slid down to the welcome mat and started sobbing. It would have killed me a year ago. Hell, even a month ago. But now? All I saw was a master manipulator playing victim. She finally left. Probably realized the Ring camera caught her breakdown in 4K. That evening, my brother Luke came over. Ex-Army. Always had my back. When I told him the full story, he didn't ask for details. Just poured me a drink and said, "What's next?" Lawyers moving fast. She's gonna try to go for the house. He smirked. She's gonna try a lot of things. That night, I sat down and wrote a list of every lie I had caught her in since we got married. Not to punish myself, but to remember. So I wouldn't forget next time my heart tried to miss her. The "I love yous" that didn't mean anything. The weekends she said she was visiting her mom. The sudden interest in lingerie, for self-esteem, she said. The guy from her gym, who just trained her for free. And Jason, the final insult. And now? Now, she was trying to act like none of it mattered. But I was already 10 steps ahead. The next surprise was already in motion. She just didn't know it yet. Because I wasn't just ending the marriage. I was rewriting the rules. 3 days passed. She didn't stop trying. Emails. Messages from fake accounts. DMs to my brother, to my boss, to my lawyer. She even showed up at my gym, all dolled up like the girl I married, pretending this was just a rough patch. It was all performance. But the real show was about to begin, and this time, I had front row seats and the remote control. See, Ashley had no idea what I'd been working on. While she was busy spiraling and playing the victim, I had hired a forensic accountant. Turns out, over the past year, she hadn't just been cheating emotionally, she'd been bleeding our joint accounts dry, too. Transferring money, booking luxury hotels, sending Jason crypto investments. The receipts were stacking up, and they screamed betrayal louder than any video ever could. I waited until Friday evening. Our mutual friends Brian and Danielle were hosting a dinner party. Small group. Casual. I called ahead and told them I'd be bringing a +1. Brian asked if it was Ashley. I just said, "You'll see." I walked in solo, carrying a small black box. Ashley was already there. She looked up when I entered, her smile immediate, forced, and way too wide. "Mark. You came." I didn't respond. Just walked to the center of the living room where a few people were already sipping wine and chatting. I set the box on the coffee table. "I want to show you all something," I said. Danielle looked nervous. Brian furrowed his brows. Ashley froze, her eyes locked on the box like she knew what was coming. This, I continued, is a gift Ashley gave me. Not directly. More like, accidentally. I opened the box and pulled out a tablet. Hit play. At first, there was laughter. A few people smiling politely. Then silence. The footage played, Ashley in that hotel room, wrapped around Jason. Her voice saying things no wife should ever say. Her mocking laugh. Her words, "He's so dumb. He thinks I'm getting a massage. Poor Mark, he still makes me lunch like it matters." Gasps filled the room. Ashley lunged toward me. "Turn it off. What are you doing?" I held out a restraining arm. "We're not done." I flipped to the next video, bank statements, overlays, transfers, Jason's name as the recipient, her voice in a call saying, "Just take it, Mark doesn't look at the accounts anyway." Brian cursed under his breath. Danielle looked like she might cry. Another friend, Hannah, stood and quietly left the room. Ashley was shaking now. "You bastard. You planned this? At a party?" "No, Ashley. You planned this. I'm just pressing play." She looked around, realizing no one was on her side anymore. "These people are our friends," she screamed. "And now," I said, "they know who you really are." She tried to leave, but I wasn't done yet. "There's more," I said, loud enough to stop her. "This isn't just about us. Ashley didn't just betray a marriage, she committed financial fraud. And I've filed everything. With the police. With our attorney. With the bank." Her face drained of color. "You're bluffing." "I'm not." I pulled a final envelope from my coat. "And by Monday morning, you'll be served with divorce papers. And a criminal investigation." She stood frozen, lips quivering, mascara running down her cheeks like melting wax. No more screaming. No more pretending. Just silence. And the room? It stayed silent too. Nobody stood up for her. Nobody hugged her. They just watched. I turned, nodded to Brian, and walked out the door. Outside, the cold hit me like a slap, but it felt good. Clean. That night, I didn't drink. I didn't cry. I slept. And for the first time in months, I didn't dream of her. Saturday morning came with no alarm clock and no weight in my chest. For once, I didn't wake up bracing for a lie. No fake smiles over breakfast. No cold, distracted kisses. Just quiet. Real quiet. But peace doesn't last long when a narcissist realizes they're losing control. Ashley started the next wave at 9:06 a.m. The first message? A voice note. "Mark, please. Please don't do this. I messed up, I know. But don't throw away everything we've built. You don't need to ruin me to move on." Then came the follow-up. "You think this makes you strong? Destroying your wife? You think anyone's gonna love a man who does this? You're just bitter." And then, the classic, the crying selfie. That desperate, glassy-eyed, "I'm so broken" face meant to trigger guilt. Only this time, it triggered nothing. I didn't reply. Instead, I met with Tim, my lawyer, at his downtown office. He was already prepping the restraining order. "She'll try to play victim in court," he warned. "Women like her? They're not sorry. They're scared. She's going to spin this like you emotionally abused her, neglected her, whatever story she thinks will keep the assets in her corner." I nodded. "Let her. I've got video, bank logs, even text threads where she brags about cheating. If she wants to fight, I'll bury her in truth." He leaned back in his chair, impressed. "Honestly, you've done half my job for me." "I didn't want to burn her," I said quietly. "I just wanted her to admit it." Tim shook his head. "People like Ashley don't admit. They deny, deflect, and destroy. You chose the only language they understand, consequences." When I left his office, I had one goal: closure. But of course, she wasn't done yet. I pulled into my driveway and saw her waiting, again. This time, in a hoodie and sweatpants, looking like a shell of herself. Hair messy. Eyes bloodshot. That dramatic, "I'm just a broken girl" look she loved to wear when she got caught lying in the past. I didn't get out of the car. She walked over, tapped the window. I rolled it down 2 inches. "Mark, please. Just 5 minutes." "No. You're throwing away 8 years." "No, you threw away 8 years," I snapped. "I'm just taking out the trash." Her eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this?" I tilted my head. "You mean the part where I found out my wife was letting some gym rat blow up her phone while I was busting my ass to keep our lives together?" She didn't respond. "You want to know what the scariest part was, Ashley?" I continued. "It wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even seeing you with him. It was realizing how easily you lied. Looking me in the face, holding my hand, making plans, all while plotting your next hotel escape." She stayed quiet. "No tears today?" I asked. Her face twisted. "You're not perfect either. You're cold. You always made everything about you." There it was. The pivot. The defense. The desperate swing. I smiled. I was boring. Predictable. Safe. You wanted chaos, and now you've got it. Then I drove off. Left her standing in the driveway like an actor who forgot her next line. That night, I changed all my passwords. Froze our joint accounts. Hired a moving truck for the rest of her crap still at the house. I was done talking. She wanted war. She just declared it in the wrong man's territory. Sunday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail like I always did now. A minute later, the transcript popped up on my screen. "Hey Mark. This is Officer Daniels from the 14th Precinct. We received a report from your wife, Ashley. She claims you installed hidden cameras without her consent and are distributing intimate content." I didn't even flinch. I expected this. She'd finally played her big card, the false accusation. A desperate swing at damage control. I called my lawyer. "She really went to the cops," I said. Tim didn't sound surprised. "She's trying to flip the narrative. Make you the abuser. Common move for someone with everything to lose. I've got the rental agreement for the hotel room, proof I paid for it, and clear consent on the room waiver forms." She walked into my space. "Exactly," he said. "And as for distributing anything? You haven't. You've only shared materials with legal counsel. If she tries to press charges, she'll get buried in counterclaims." Still, I drove down to the precinct myself. Walked in calm, presented the documents, explained the full situation, handed over everything with timestamps, receipts, and emails. The officer nodded and said, "You're doing this the smart way." By the time I got home, my inbox was blowing up. Ashley had posted a public video on Instagram. Full crocodile tears. Hood up. Makeup wiped. Soft music in the background. Classic damage control move straight out of the influencer playbook. I've made mistakes, but I never deserved to be humiliated, violated, and stalked. I was manipulated and emotionally controlled for years. The comments were flooding in. "We believe you, Queen. Men always play victim. Stay strong, she-wolf." She had her flying monkeys. But I had something better, truth. That afternoon, I made one post. No video. No crying. Just a caption and 2 images. Here's the full story. Documents don't lie. First image, a screenshot of the hotel booking confirmation under my name. Second image, a chat transcript of Ashley telling Jason he doesn't suspect a thing. He's too busy cooking to notice I'm gone. That was it. I didn't name call. Didn't rant. I didn't need to. Within an hour, her post went from getting sympathy to getting questions. People asked for receipts. Asked why the hotel was booked under my name. Asked why she was so confident about using girls' night to sneak off. By the evening, she'd taken the video down. And that's when the messages started trickling in. From people I hadn't heard from in years. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't know it was this bad. Bro. I saw what happened. She played you dirty. If you ever want to talk, or just go out for a beer, hit me up." But the message that really hit me came from Jason. Yep. That Jason. It was short. Just 2 lines. "Didn't know she was married. I swear. She said you guys were separated. My bad." I stared at it for a second. Almost laughed. Separated? While living under the same roof? Sharing the same bed every other night? She really thought she could juggle both lives and keep everything intact. But the circus act was over. The truth was leaking out now, and nothing she did could stop it. By Monday morning, my lawyer filed the restraining order. The papers were served at her work. Her boss, who used to like her, called to say she'd been put on administrative leave. That was the first real consequence she'd ever faced. And something told me she still hadn't hit bottom yet. Monday night was quiet. Too quiet. No new posts from Ashley. No fake apologies. No cryptic quotes on her Instagram story pretending to be deep. Just silence. It should have felt peaceful. Like I'd finally turned the page. But with Ashley? Silence wasn't peace. It was a warning. She wasn't done. At 2:47 a.m., my phone vibrated. I was half asleep on the couch again. When I picked it up, I saw a single photo message. It was my car. In flames. I sat bolt upright. At first I thought it was a joke, some twisted meme. But then I recognized the background. It was my driveway. I bolted outside barefoot, heart pounding. There it was. Still smoking. The hood scorched, glass shattered, the whole thing reeking of gasoline and ego. I didn't call her. I called the cops. They arrived fast, took statements, reviewed my security footage. The Ring camera caught someone in a hoodie pouring something over the car and lighting it. They were careful, gloves, hoodie pulled low, face turned, but I'd seen that build before. Too familiar. Too Ashley. I showed the footage to the officer. "You know who this is?" he asked. "I do," I said flatly. "I'm guessing she's going to pretend it's a coincidence. Like everything else." They nodded, took the footage, and promised an investigation. I called Tim the next morning. "She's getting unhinged," I said. "She's unraveling," he replied. Classic narcissist downfall. When control slips, desperation kicks in. "You think she's dangerous? I think you should stay somewhere else for a few nights. Until the restraining order gets enforced." So I packed a bag, left the house, and stayed with Luke. Meanwhile, the fire went viral. The neighborhood app exploded with speculation. A few people recognized the car. The whispers started. Then the texts. "Bro, was that your car? Mark, do you need anything? Did Ashley?" And then, surprisingly, shockingly, I got a message from her mom. I had no idea she was doing this. "I'm so sorry. I don't recognize my daughter anymore." Even her family was backing away. Tuesday morning, Ashley tried calling me again. Blocked. So she sent an email. "You think this makes you the hero? You're ruining me. My job, my life, my name. You made me snap. You created this. If you had just been the man I needed." I didn't even finish reading it. Instead, I forwarded it straight to Tim. By Wednesday, the cops had enough to bring her in for questioning. Not charged yet, but shaken. The day after, she showed up at my gym. Security escorted her out. I watched from the upper deck, arms folded, heart calm. It was like watching a tornado spin out in reverse, first tearing everything apart, then collapsing under its own fury. She was out of moves. But me? I was just getting started. I filed for full ownership of the house, citing emotional distress and destruction of personal property. My lawyer filed a petition to freeze her access to our remaining accounts. Then I scheduled an appointment with a therapist. Not for her. For me. Because I needed to stop living like I was still waiting for the next blow. I needed to learn what healthy looked like. And maybe even, what peace could feel like again. That night, I sat on Luke's back porch with a beer in hand. He looked over at me and asked, "You good?" I thought about it. I smiled. "Not yet," I said. "But I'm getting there." By the end of the week, Ashley was radioactive. Her Instagram was gone. Not deactivated, banned. Someone must have flagged her enough times, or maybe her last attempt at pity bait crossed a line. Either way, her digital empire of filtered lies and victim narratives went poof. Just like that. She stopped showing up. Stopped calling. Stopped trying. For most people, that might have meant healing had begun. For Ashley, it meant the storm had passed through her and left her with nothing left to burn. I didn't relax. Not yet. Tim warned me, this kind of silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. She's either about to run, or she's building a story for court. But she didn't run. She didn't file. She vanished. A week passed. Then 2. And then came the letter. Not from Ashley, from her attorney. Hand-delivered. Thick envelope. Sealed with a kind of desperation that smelled like guilt. Inside was a typed apology, probably written by someone else, and a settlement offer. She'd waive any claim to the house. She'd forfeit alimony. She'd surrender the shared car. All she wanted was to keep her own savings and leave with dignity. There was one line that stood out, though. One that made me actually laugh out loud. Ashley respectfully requests that the footage of her private actions not be shared publicly and that both parties agree to a confidentiality clause. It was her last defense, secrecy. I looked over at Tim. She's trying to cover the damage. He nodded. She's hoping you'll sign just to end it. Should I? That depends, he said. Do you want closure, or revenge? I sat with that. 4 days. See, I'd fantasized about revenge for weeks. Dreamed of it. Posting the footage. Destroying her name publicly. Letting every single person know exactly what she did. But the truth? I didn't need to anymore. She had already lost more than I could have planned. Her job. Her reputation. Her friends. Her family's respect. Her sense of invincibility. And now she was begging for silence. Not because she was sorry. But because she was scared. So I signed. With one condition, she had to send a personal, handwritten apology, not to me, but to my family. My brother. My parents. The people she lied to, manipulated, used for sympathy while she played the perfect wife. 3 days later, it arrived. Barely 3 sentences. To Mark's family. I'm sorry for the hurt I caused. I made mistakes and betrayed your trust. I understand if I'm never forgiven. No crocodile tears. No grand performance. Just shame. Pure, silent shame on paper. I framed it. Not to hang on the wall, but as a reminder. A token. A warning from the past. That weekend, I moved back into the house. Alone, but peaceful. No more secretive texts. No lingering perfume I didn't recognize. No cold shoulders. No guilt trips. Just silence. And this time, it was peace. I started rebuilding. Room by room. I bought new bed sheets. Tossed the old ones. Repainted the bedroom. She always hated dark colors, I painted it navy. Deleted every photo we ever took together. Even the wedding album. It felt like removing an infection from my memory. Painful. But cleansing. Luke came over that Sunday with 2 beers and a bag of tools. He helped me hang a new door on the bedroom. One she never touched. "You sure you're not gonna lose your mind living here alone?" he asked. I looked around. My mind's the first thing I got back by being alone. He laughed. "You're cold, man." "No," I said. "I'm healed." There was still one final thing to do. But it would come in part 8. And it would be the one thing she never expected. Closure. A month passed. No more messages. No surprise visits. No police calls. No burned property. Just silence. It wasn't peace at first. It felt hollow, like I'd stepped out of a war zone into a house that still smelled like smoke. Every corner of my home whispered her lies. Every drawer reminded me of who she pretended to be. But eventually, silence started to feel like something else. Control. Not over her. Over me. I didn't flinch when my phone buzzed anymore. I didn't lie awake at night wondering who she was texting. I didn't spend hours trying to decode her moods. I lived. I worked. I slept. I ate real meals again. I took long drives with no destination. I even joined a boxing class, because apparently, punching something that deserves it is better than bottling it up. And then one morning, it just happened. I woke up and didn't think of her. Not first thing. Not at all. And that's when I knew, she didn't win. Not in the affair. Not in the aftermath. Not in the war she tried to start and the fire she hoped would burn me to ash. I was still here. She was a memory I didn't owe anything to anymore. That weekend, I hosted a small barbecue. Luke brought steaks. My parents came by. Some friends from work. Laughter filled the yard again. Real laughter, not the fake kind Ashley used to weaponize. At one point, Brian, that Brian, pulled me aside. "I gotta ask," he said, sipping a beer. "If you had to go back, would you do anything different?" I looked at the grill. At the smoke curling into the air. At the people I still had. The peace I'd rebuilt. "Yeah," I said. "I would have left her sooner." He raised his eyebrows. "No revenge fantasies? No wishing you'd exposed her more?" I smiled. "She exposed herself. I just let her dig her own grave." And then I told him something I hadn't said out loud before. I think people like Ashley, they don't change. They just find new victims. New stories. But eventually, the chaos catches up. And when it does, the only person they can blame is the mirror. That night, after everyone left, I sat outside under the string lights in my backyard and finally allowed myself to do something I hadn't done in months. Reflect. Not on the betrayal. Not on the hotel. Not on the fire. On me. I realized how much I'd lost, but more importantly, how much I'd gained. Boundaries. Self-respect. A backbone I didn't know I had. And that's when it hit me. Ashley never needed to say sorry. Because I didn't need her apology. I had mine. To the man I used to be, the one who ignored the red flags, who believed every pretty lie, who kept fixing what was meant to break, I said. "I'm sorry I didn't leave sooner. But I'm proud you finally did." I stood up, walked back inside, and grabbed the last thing left from her. That small framed apology she wrote to my family. I walked it to the fireplace. Tossed it in. Watched it burn. Not in anger. But in release. That was the final act. Not revenge. Not justice. Just freedom.